It's me, David Rossy. I'm here with Jakob Olson, and what we're going to talk about today is the history of us. We're at the round table, and I'd like to introduce myself and what I do. A lot of people come to me and they ask, "Who are you? What it is that you bring to the market?" I'll tell them simply, okay, what it is you'll come to me with a creative idea, and I will essentially help you find the right team and not only put it together, but work on every aspect of it. So if you don't know what to do, where to go, how to create, how to build your brand, create your business. See, a lot of people, they focus more so on the production, but what about after? And reaching out to the people, letting them know that you're creating, building your fan base, getting your music out there, the distribution aspect, all of that. I'm here to help you. And
I'm here to reveal that to you.
yeah.
I'm here to expose the industry from the inside. I'm just kidding. What I'm here to do is to make sure that David Rossy Jr. educates you enough to the point where you have no questions for me. You could just go ahead and roll along with my podcasts. This man right here is the man that's helped me with anything that I've ever needed in my life when it comes to having anything publicized. If I had any questions as to how I could go about in the industry, things I needed to do, the moves I needed to make, he was always there to be the one to be like, "Hey man, you got to make this step to get this part." And he is very well educated, and I'm very proud to call him a sponsor or a friend or a brother or a PR rep. And if you would really just focus on, so let's go back to the beginning of our friendship. So I met him when I wanted to become a famous actor. I was 17, 18 years old, something like that. I saw an ad on a bus, called the man up, went to Denny's, had a few coffees, got a little lit on the coffees, talked a shit ton. Sorry, we're gonna cut that out. Talked a lot. And he was a great friend to me from the get-go, and we stayed up for weeks on end, became complete vegan, didn't do cheese, meat, nothing, worked out, didn't sleep for a couple weeks, and
All naturally, too.
all naturally, and it wasn't no drugs involved at all. But we did really truly get to know each other. That's why I try to display the fact that he's more of a brother to me, but he is a PR rep to me as well, because I was a very adventurous younger man. I wanted to get into music. 10 years later, here I am. I haven't released anything, but that's on me because I have different avenues and ways to going about things in my life than other people do. But besides that fact, David Rossy has never stopped. He's kept going from the beginning. He's on his grind. He's got over 500 different projects that he's working on right now that I know of. And we are not going to get into the depths of that rabbit, because that hole is not able to be confounded into one little conversation. That's a 16-year podcast that we'd have to relocate into a different avenue of life. So we're going to just sit here right now and focus on one thing with David Rossy Jr., because the man is brilliant, in my opinion. Cheers to the
man.
things that you do and the people that you do work with.
Thank you.
The people that are upset at you, I will say there is a reason to be upset at David. He does get a little too focused on other things, though. If you shine a couple dollars in front of him, I promise you that man's going to get the work done. Anyways, on to the next message. We're going back to PR. Tell them about how you met me. We're going to do the 2 stories is better than one thing. Let's talk about Utah. You're going to piggyback off of what I've told so far. Go to Utah, and then I'll get there as well. But definitely involve your PR from back then, and tell them how it's adapted and expanded since then to now. We're going to extend virtually only to the Rock Springs 307 area, though. With your public relations, we're not going to branch out to different artists that are bigger names, just because we have not signed a non-disclosure agreement. All these local artists aren't signed to Fortune 500 companies. I don't think there's a problem with us talking about them. We'll get their agreement if it becomes a problem. the Fortune 500 companies that you're involved with. I don't think I want to get mixed up in that. Just we do have artists that are not able to be spoken of, and we're very conscious about those things. I am, however, going to try to trick David Rossy into talking about things that he shouldn't talk about. And if we do get to that point and he doesn't talk, then hey, you know what? Dogs don't bite sometimes, even though they bark, which is a good thing because I know this man's a fucking hound. And this dog that's sitting under me right now, we're gonna cut out that F word first of all. But this thing that's sitting under me,
this could be the adult version.
Yeah, if we do want to do something like that, we'll do a virtual avenue where we can reach you guys exclusively from our hearts, who we are. There's a dog under me that's a wolf, and that's this man in human form. He doesn't quit, he doesn't give up. So again, with that big 15-minute introduction, David Rossy Jr., thank you for having me. Thank you for cameraing again, and let's get to it.
So, when I met this guy, I met a young, ambitious, forward-moving individual, who came to me and he wanted to be friends, not just about my creativity, you know what I mean? He heard me, which was amazing, and I had a lot of respect for that because at that time I was 23 when he came to me, and I was still being ambitious going forward with my career. At that time, I had gotten contact with a show called Proper Manners, and what was happening...
Shout out Pietro.
Yeah, shout out to Pietro de Alessio, and, from Proper Manners, creator. Anyway, at that time I was preparing to move on and advance and get out of this market, and it happened rather quickly, and he was around, Jakob was around, and he just had these interesting questions about the industry, and he kept my mind going. So we did have our conversations. We'd be the Denny's crew. We'd go there, speak, learn, teach each other, and figure out what it is that we wanted and what we desired. And that was a lot of it, guys. A lot of it is figuring out what it is that you want, what it is that you desire, and going for it, and really picking your destination. So we focused on what it is that we worked on. We worked a lot on our sleep schedules, the polyphasic versus the monophasic sleep. Remember that?
So if you don't understand, 4 hours to 2 hours, doing cycles on such matters throughout the day, just because of the problematic issues that came up with schedules. We had to do a lot of things when it came to being on set for films and having to go from one place to another, which could be hundreds of miles away. So we had to sleep on a different schedule. So what he's speaking about there is, yes, we had to go on 2 different sleep cycles throughout our friendship, and it was quite an extreme ride. It was a roller coaster for sure, and I enjoyed it. It was great. I learned a lot, and I was on set with a lot of great people on a few different projects.
Right. And so when I'm talking about the polyphasic and the monophasic is just sleeping one set amount of hours straight through, versus the polyphasic means taking smaller amount, like he just said, smaller amount of breaks of your sleep so that you can actually activate your creativity, use your full potential in your mind, and maximize your time. And that's what we were working on, but at the same time we wanted to maximize our human potential too. So seeing someone who was young, interested in entertainment, creative as well, and had these visions, he just didn't know necessarily where to go and how to pull them off. I thought, okay, this guy right here, we're clicking, we're working. This guy is somebody that I want to work with. I hope that we continue to work with each other for the rest of our lives, and I'm excited to see the bigger projects. So in that time, it was a crash month.
Thank you for that. Cheers.
You're welcome, brother. It was a crash month, a month where, getting everything together in the house, preparing for the move, and then just immediately moving. We up and moved. We put everything in storage, and I was like, dude, I gotta go to be on a production. Do you want to come with me? You know what I mean? And so he had nothing to do in his life at that time, so we hopped up in the Chevy van, the old school Chevy van.
With the dog that's under me.
With the dog, right? And we went to Salt Lake. And, we were just roughing it. We were figuring it out. And thank you, Pietro, for giving us a place to stay while we were contacting all of the agencies and working to get into the industry there. He provided us a great opportunity there. And so, but, that was only after the fact that when we got there, we did the thing. We lived in the van. We shook everybody's hands that we could possibly find. And we were really networking and introducing ourselves and figuring out.
Give them an estimate of people just you and I had met together in the 3-month span that we were down there.
I would say that we probably
20,000.
About 20,000 people.
Shook hands with, met, talked
right?
to.
Because we shook hands with everybody, and
we tried to get known around the area.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing, is getting known.
A lot of people saw us as.
How do you get known?
A few people saw us as great people. We were on set with some incredible. Like I said before, we were on set with some incredible people sometimes, and they had stories, all of them, and we tried to do every single one of them.
Let's get down to
you were better at it than I was, because I've always been the shy one sitting in the back waiting for someone to come talk to me. But you, however, be like, look at my flashy jewel, boom, here, down with the digits. Everybody's talking to you. 250 people later, three days later, we're at a different venue doing a different thing, and it was all you, through your PR, through your word, through your ability to just contract somebody towards you, and your neuro-linguistic powers that just alleviate all the stress on other people because they trust you when they hear you speaking. And it's a craft that many people cannot understand or comprehend, and I've mastered it as well as you, but you are the PR king, the PR master.
I appreciate that.
And we ventured through Utah. Tell them about all of the different things that we did.
So I'm about to get there. That's what I wanted to start on. So when you approached me, I was going to show you. I told you. I remember suggesting, hey, I'm going to give you some tools. Run with it. And a lot of it was hard, because do you remember the frustration that you had when I told you to do, like I suggested something to you, and you had to figure it out? Like, you had to do your due diligence.
Sure.
I wasn't going to just do the work for you. And so it was more so we have
and
to...
even when I was wrong, you were still like, it was an attempt. It was kind of like a publicity stunt, where it's like, anything you do is good publicity. Any publicity is good publicity. So that's how you were kind of also doing your teachings towards me. It was like, I'm going to give you this link right here. You're going to be able to sign up for all these auditions to do this, this, and this. And you're giving me all the groundwork to be able to be successful in things. You're just waiting for an attempt and something to happen from that. And then there's things that happen from that. And you're like, okay, you did good in this aspect, but you also did good here. And you wouldn't even explain it like that. You would just live your life and like show it through expressions, and like you'd give me a ruby or something as soon as like we do a really big production, like as soon as I did Mozart World Foundation, where there was 800 different performers and there was like 20,000 different people in the audience. You gave me a big old red ruby after that or something, I believe. And I can't believe it, but my ex, she kept it in her place. And that's what happens every time you give me something, and it's super tragic and unfortunate, but the women are so jealous. They don't understand the companionship and I do tell everybody that I'm with this story, because it was a real thing. It was a real thing that happened, and we were really introduced to the industry and the ways that they do things in the industry. And not to jump too far into the rabbit hole, I had to introduce that into this little snippet, because it's something that's important. So
right. I wanted to say that the whole approach that I had for you was how to do it from the ground up. How to really be there, get to your goal, get to your connections, get to your people, and to show you in a way that made you feel like you did the work. That I didn't do it for you, but what I did was show you the way, like the wayfinder.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's why
and how many auditions did I have? I mean,
you did a lot.
There was a lot.
Okay, there was a lot of stuff that you auditioned for, and so when it came down to it, I wanted to not just be the guy that people blame and say, hey, I rode your coattails to get here. The fact is, no, you didn't.
Now and then, what else did we do?
You didn't ride any coattails, because I didn't let you. I made you do the work.
we lived our entire lives. Now, this is the thing about a coach, and that's what you are, and that's what you were to me, right? You were a coach, a life coach, more or less. And what did we do, man? We went and we worked out, we walked around, we went and we applied for jobs if we wanted to. Like, we lived our lives, bro, and we ate very great meals. And if you want to touch on that,
yes.
expound.
So you know, in the aspect of where we were, okay, you got to think about it in context of the story, okay. You know, that first month where we were in our van in Salt Lake, and you know, we were shaking people's hands, and we were living, you know, daily off of. At that time,
we did get cut off, so we do have to continue the story. It's going to branch off in a different way. So I hope you did understand what he said and what I said, and now let's continue.
at that time, the bigger thing for us was to really go for the dream. We were risking it all. We were starting from the beginning, and we did. We got in our vehicle, we moved to the city, and we lived in the parking lots of not the Applebee's, but the IHOP and the Denny's, you know, and even underneath the bridge. But one of the bigger things for us why we did that is because we wanted to get away from our hometown, you know, our hometown's
we wanted
vibes.
to branch out of the
Like-
rat race for a second as well. We
Like-
wanted to understand life in a different.
We wanted to see what was
Different
out
eye.
there, because for us in our industry, no matter what we did, we couldn't find people who wanted to do what we did. And when we did find those people, they were not willing to commit to the art or the goal. You know, they would talk about it. And so we decided, okay, you know, we gotta go, and we gotta go quick. That first week, you know, I think what happened was there was an individual who, after his, no, I think that was the second week, second week, Chief Keef and the Glow Squad, they pulled up. You know, we were
French
just
Montana stayed out.
shaking hands, and we were meeting people, you know, and
Was it French?
yeah, Frenchie was there. But what ended up happening was Chief Keef wanted to ride my bike, right? I had this lowrider bike, still have it too.
I'm on that Keef.
So, you know, they all have their phones out, and they're like, "What's good?" You know, I'm on, and so I say, I'm on that Keef. You know, and so everybody starts to busting up. My dude offers me $100 for the bike, and I'm like, nah, we need this. And so, you know,
Keef breaks the pedal on his motherfucker.
just
He
that
rolled
first
around in a
week
circle.
though, we started shaking hands, talking to people, and there was this one guy, I think his name was Paul, I don't remember, but he was this one guy that we met, and then he was like, okay, you know what, there's this studio I want to take you guys to.
Dennis?
So, Dennis, yeah. So there's the studio we went to, and it was this secret studio that was hidden in plain sight in downtown Salt Lake. Yeah, the Hopscotch Outreach Arts Foundation, you know. And it was more than that, though. We were able to get an inside secret view of Stars, BET,
Network,
you know,
yeah, there was
FX,
managers for
FX
BET.
channel, all of that
The
downtown.
Terminator
Mark-
scaffold was there.
I think his name was Mark, the creator, who worked on Terminator. And
The owner was worked for Disney for
yes.
a while.
And so, you know, that even branches out to Monica Da Silva and stuff, but that's a whole other chapter, you know. Monica Da Silva, though, she was, you know, was it Dirty Dancing?
Sure.
I think she was Dirty Dancing, you know, and with Patrick Swayze and
Yeah.
all of that, yes.
That's my mom's favorite movie as well.
We got to meet her, and, you know, more on an optimistic note, we were able to go and teach a class.
The siren off of Oh Brother Where Art Thou?
Oh, yeah.
She's
Mila Tate.
Proper Manners.
Yes, Mia Tate from Proper Manners.
I had dinner with her and Pietro and a few other people on
Mhm.
the show. It's a great group of people.
A very great group of people. I think the biggest thing, though, okay, because we're everywhere, it's just an adventure. I think that, you know, for the listeners and for the people who are watching us, that you gotta have a dream. You gotta be willing to go sacrifice something and do it with your all. If you have to change your lifestyle habits to get your dream, well, then think about what you have to do to become the person that you're not, and then go do it, like we did. You know, and so it
Right.
was a radical transformation, wasn't it?
I mean,
And
for sure. Yeah, no, I mean, it evolved. I wasn't much of a human before that. You know what I mean? I was developed through school and getting sent away, you know, kind of having the whole disciplinary lifestyle, and then boom, I broke out of that. I said, you know what, there's no more of this, dude. I'm gonna become a rich, famous actor, and I don't care what anybody thinks about it. I hit you up, boom, we did some things, bro. And it opened up my eyes to the reality of things, and that's it. Like, life is fucking real. Like, you gotta work for everything that you get in life. And you have to imagine it first, and then you have to go for it in the way that you imagined it, and then it's going to become a beautiful piece of art in the end, and it's going to become something. Whether it's successful or not, that's a whole different story. But if you can imagine it, it's going to happen, and then when it does happen, you just have to learn from your past things that you've taught me in life, and not do things that you've done wrong in those different times, you know, like when you and I got to big fights because Sam biting me and shit.
yeah,
Stuff,
no regrets.
stuff happens, and you know, we had to split up because the dog didn't get along with people in the house, and I didn't really want to go in the van with you and the dog. So, I mean, hey, there's wounds that had to be healed after that, man. There was hearts that were broken, and there was different aspects of life that were thought of that most people don't see in the industry. You know, there's different relationships that can be broken through different things that people do and people say, and you know, Proper Manners was crushed because of some things that happened. Not going to talk about that on air, but you know, there was some things that happened. Pietro, I love him to the day that I die, and everybody else on set. So we'll save the headache of starting stress over something. But they're a semi-successful online. What is it? Online TV show.
Online soap opera.
And they're pretty successful,
Yeah,
right?
so to even think about that, yeah, actually, you know, when it comes to the show, so what we do is daytime television, okay? You think All My Children, Days of Our Lives, you think these daytime drama.
And it's a pretty good show.
This is what we do, you know, when it comes to the Proper Manners aspect. As far as its reboot and stuff, there's talks about it being rebooted and things. But in regards to just our connections, you know, Mia, Tate, everybody who's worked on the show, we're pretty darn successful when it comes to that aspect. And I just want to thank you for coming along on the adventure. When I reached out to Pietro, you know, I told him that I would like to work with public relations, and I offered my services. And, you know, he accepted my offer. And, you know, the fact that I was able to bring you to shadow along with me, he was totally okay with that. And that show is pretty darn epic. That's like a cutthroat, like there's scheming and chaos and everybody.
Back with Rossy, so we got a little mixed up. Footage got cut. We're gonna go with Rock Springs now. We're gonna cross over. Don't have much time. He's got to go do some things. Always a busy man, right?
Yes, sir. So the need for public relations is so important, because when you have a dream and you're going for it, you need to get your brand out there. You need to build up your portfolio. Not only that, but your repertoire. And so I work a lot in artists and repertoire, and what that means for Rock Springs is that what we're going to be able to do as a team and as a city is we're going to be able to build our brands. I'm okay on that. We're going to be able to build our brands, and we're going to be able to go to another level, right? However, it does take some strategy. I don't want just to inspire creativity. I want to inspire technicality as well, because a large part of the success that people want for their dreams is having a technical mind. And when you can develop the two and branch the two, then you're going to be able to go out, you know. As far as Rock Springs, there's a number of artists that I've worked with.
So let's give a few shout outs to a few artists that you've met throughout your time here in
I
Rock
do
Springs,
wanna,
and that you feel very closely to, and then maybe we could go into a few stories.
Well, I want to give a shout out to just the whole wrapped up event. You know, I'm going to put a shout out there for Navarre, because Navarre, what he did was he brought people together. And
Navarre Mud, shout out.
And when it was hard for people to come together, he made the times better. So I'm going to shout out to him. As well as Gentry Fox. You know, I did a number of music videos with Gentry Fox. That's local here. And I even hear that Gentry Fox not too long ago opened up for Coolio. So that's pretty cool.
I was in Cheyenne when you did that, and I was right down the road, and I heard that music down. I was at the Kamea shelter. It was a pretty, I wouldn't say a bad part of my life. I just had no place to stay, so I was at a shelter. But yeah, you were up the road, Gentry, doing that show with Coolio, and I said, hey man, that's what's up.
So,
you know what I mean? So good job with that, man. Good
so
job
that
with
was pretty cool. You know, I was able to work with a whole bunch of actors from Rock Springs on his shows and his productions. You know, we created a lot of different music videos, and we still got a whole bunch more to make. But when it comes down to it, what we're doing here is we're like the Nashville of Wyoming. We are an artist centralized.
Right?
Yeah, I do know Tumor.
Yeah, have you done some work with Tumor?
Yeah, since he was 12 years old, you know, I was able to be a mentor and coach him and help him grow. And, you know, he really just ran with it. What he is today is a result of his passion and his pursuit, which I'm very thankful for. He's very talented.
Yeah.
One of the more talented people that I know, you know, and there's a lot of people I know. And I just want to give a shout out to all of the artists who are doing their thing and not giving up, because
Wysonti, what do you know about him?
I have a music video for Wysonti. You know, just there's been some technical difficulties on my end that have pushed things back, and some other big projects that I needed to work on as well. You know, so since the technical difficulties came up, I do have a few I got like 4 music videos that I've been meaning to release for over a year now.
Okay.
And it's eating me up inside, and they're local artists
YT
too.
And Big Tone.
So, you know, I have YT, Big Tone. That's one that, you know, I've worked on with. I've got you know, one that we're working on for Rai Chavez, you know, one for Wysonti, and I have the bigger one that Thoma and I worked on for over a year, which has been taking so much time. And, you know, it was supposed to be released a couple years ago, you know, for Navarre.
Things happen, people.
You know,
Things
so
do happen.
so technical difficulties have arisen, but when it comes down to the talented people here, you know, ooh.
Now, Treasy, let's give a shout out.
I haven't done much video work for Treasy, but I've always known him since high school, and I just want to say that I'm glad he's kept doing what he's doing.
Never give up on what you love.
Navarre Mud. I definitely gonna work on something with Treasy one day.
Let's do a dig in again. You said something about the Wrapped Up event. Let's go back into that. Let's dig
okay. So Wrapped Up Toys for Tots Kids event. You know, for the children who don't have toys, we bring in a whole bunch of different artists for an event, and admission for the concert is a toy. You know, so like it works out, because for those children who don't have, not only does he provide a venue for them to get something, but he also provides a venue for the youth and those who are struggling and artists to be able to express themselves, which is so important. And so I just want to say that, you know, there are a lot of people here who are doing great things, and I think together, like, we can hit the next level. But the thing is, we need to work together and we need to strategize, because this is serious. You know, after working with Def Jam, Universal, and a few other big companies in my career, I know what it takes to be this person that we're all asking for. And, you know,
have you done anything with 3H7? Know anything about them?
You know what? I worked with Cayman Dunks not too long ago. You know what I'm saying? But as far as that, you know, my job here is to work and help the creative artists bring their stuff together.
Right.
And so I did more of an interview for him. So that's some of the work I did. I was supposed to design some clothes for him, and I've got some clothes that I'm going to be designing for him. But that's a whole other chapter, a whole nother podcast where we talk about Royal Golden Horseshoe, and we talk about our designs, you know.
We'll come out with RGH.
So,
RGH is another
all of the artists here in Rock Springs have something big to add.
Shout out to RGH though, for sure. Royal Golden Horseshoe Productions. We did a little bit of work together on that, right? We were designing
leather bags and clothing and shirts and stuff.
Things happened in my life. Things happened in his
life. Now we're at a new phase of development where things can go forward in a different way. So what I want to say though is to stay inspired, stay creative, and stay tuned for the next chapters that are coming up. But at the end of the day, when it comes to artists in Rock Springs, all the serious ones know who they are. All the other ones who are not serious, I'm just going to tell you to get serious, because it's your dream and you just need to work on it. No one's going to hand it to you, okay? Your portfolio is important. I'm dropping a dime right now. Get your fans, build your market, build your aspect of something to offer, add value. Okay? You want to add value. Give them something to live for. Maybe your song saves their life. Maybe it gives them something to feel. Maybe you're teaching these people how to feel.
Logic's Suicide Song definitely helped
You know?
over millions of people.
So at the end of the day, I'm inspiring our town and our city to come together to create some art that may save our friends' lives, because real talk, we experience a lot of ill-fated deaths here because of some decisions, and if we were able to do other things, maybe we as a community wouldn't find ourselves so wrapped up in addiction and things like that.
And don't you have, yourself personally, don't you have projects where you're talking about your own life and
I
your
do
own
have some.
struggles
I do
and
have
everything's
projects.
involved in that.
I've been working
It's
on a
about
movie
your life,
for
but
12
it's-
years, and the movie's coming to fruition. But again, with the technical difficulties, my whole movie and all of the other projects that I was working on had to go. So I'm gonna leave you guys with a bit of advice, because I've got to go. You know what I'm saying? And the bit of advice that I have is keep pursuing. Don't give up. You know, your dreams do come true, but you have to work every day. And I want you to think positively about what you want in life and not the things you don't want, because the more you focus on what you don't want, it's what you're going to get.
All right.
So
I do have one last question for you, if
Yeah,
you
what's
don't
up?
mind. I want to, with every one of my people that I put on my podcast, just ask them the question, what is their take on something of today? And today the topic was Ariel being of color on the new mermaid movie.
I'm just going to tell you that I think I'm an equal opportunity individual, and I think that that's great that Ariel is of different color on the new mermaid movie. And so, you know, we need to reach out to all different markets and make them feel like they're special too. Everybody's included. As for me, I am a multi-ethnic individual who could never be racist at all, because I'm all of the cultures into one. So to see that represents a largely marginalized cultural aspect of society, you know, yes, I'm actually happy. And I think that, you know, the paradigm exists, and I think that there's nothing wrong with that. And for those people who have ill will for it, you know, that's unfortunate for them. That to me shows bigotness. I don't really like politics or things like that, you know, but it just shows some closed-mindedness. It's a freaking
That
cartoon.
question can also raise a lot of political,
you know, it's a cartoon,
things, right?
It's a cartoon, okay? I think that if you're against it, then that just says that you're not really a good person, because everybody deserves to shine and everybody deserves to be represented. Obviously, Disney made a call for a reason.
Now, there's some logical people that will state, well, if she's underwater, there's no way she has melanin, therefore she couldn't be black.
It's a cartoon.
And so you're just saying on your side of things, just
But-
stay creative, because there's no reason for us to have all this separation. That's the whole...
Right.
So if we were to quit with this separation, we wouldn't have to worry about things like this.
So no, like, just unite. Thank you for having me on your show.
Much love, brother.
Thanks for coming by too, okay? We'll talk soon.